Hi everyone, it's Killshot99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 7, and this is our very early preview. So we're going to take some of the teaser, some of the opening minutes, tie it together, and give some of our predictions, talk about the show a little bit tonight, because I do think there's some good information that's floating around out there. I see a lot of familiar faces. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. Also saw Valar super chatting right off the bat. So Valar just saying thank you to Killshot, Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kells, the Patreons, the Super Chatters, the whole gang is here. So thank you so much, Valar, for getting that kicked off for us tonight. Appreciate you and you being here as always. So we've got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about tonight. This is our Tuesday night edition. A lot of times we do the predictions on Wednesday, but you never know about the spoilers. Sometimes they come out a little bit early. But I do want to start out this chat because some people have brought it up. Let me just say, and I'm going to bring closure to this once and for all. It should have never been a theory in the first place. RJ is real. He's as real as it gets. It's baffling to me that even became a thing, because it was clear that when Magna was looking in the window that Michonne was holding RJ. So let's just put it to rest. It's not a figment of her imagination. Just let's be done with it and move on to the next thing. I guess somebody needed some material to throw something out there to talk about, but that was not one of the best ones out there. That probably ranks right up there with a leaf that looked like a Whisperer face a couple seasons ago. So just, you got to be careful when you're first. Sometimes when you're first, you're worst. That actually rhymed. All right, Scott Kernan. Hey, Kills, just wanted to mention the idea that Eugene could be in serious danger in Episode 8, as it seems he gets captured in Episode 7 by the Whispers. It does definitely seem that way, especially by Rosita running by herself and Eugene not being able to make it. I'm just reading. I'm reading some of the catch up, and some people got the message, knew exactly what I was talking about. All right. I'm good. I'm good with theories. I'm not good with rushed theories that right after somebody's watched the episode for the first time. And as you guys asked me about it the other night, I said I'm not willing. I paused, right? I paused and said, wait a minute, let me think about it. Let me try to recollect. And the one thing I kept going back to was I gotta watch Magna watch Michonne. If Magna would have never seen Michonne, I still wouldn't have thought it was viable, but it was just completely outlandish by seeing the scene and watching it play out. I mean, it's the whole reason why Magna paused. She's looking in, she's got the knife, she's getting ready to open the window, and she looks and she sees RJ. That was the sole purpose of that. And Michonne only opened up the door a little bit because I guess she didn't know that Magna had seen her through the window, obviously. So she didn't want her to, if there was going to be a fight to break down, she didn't want RJ to be involved in it. All right. I'm not going to spend the majority of this stream talking about a jacked up theory. We got our own to get to. So we're going to talk a little bit about, and I did see Scott. So yes, Eugene is in some trouble, but before we get to Eugene, we gotta rescue Daryl again from himself. Drama King Kills. Who do you think tied up the dog? Well, it's one of two things. I'm not going to give a dog tying up theory, but it was either intentionally done or Daryl has some serious traps set up. And just by watching it, it looks like it's kind of too perfect for the dog just to wander there. But I do think that's going to... Dog's not going to die. There's no way this dog dies. It did kind of look deliberate. I will give you that. But like I said, I've only watched it once, so I don't want to go and say that, hey, you know what? Maybe the dog doesn't exist. Maybe the dog is in Daryl's mind, and I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop it. Everything that we just say, just half of what we see doesn't exist. All right, I am going to get to the scene with the dog and what's going to go down and kind of move forward. Carol is there until dark. And it appears by the campfire it is starting to become afternoon anyway. But I think the bigger theme is we got multiple groups going to Hilltop at the same time. What's the coincidence with that? Look, nothing happens in these communities for 6 years, and then Carol just happens to be going and taking Henry to Hilltop, and Michonne just happens to be taking Magnus Group to Hilltop. So I am convinced by that level of coincidence that there are going to be multiple run-ins with the Whispers. Let me jump over to the super chat because we got Scott Kernan who says, Michonne will encounter Whispers before Hilltop. Well, it appears from what we've seen that Connie senses something. Now, I predicted the other day that Daryl, Carol, and Henry will find Lydia, and I still think that's a possibility. And it seems more likely that Michonne's group might run into Rosita, or it could be flip-flopped. Michonne's group could run into Lydia, and Daryl's group could run into Rosita. Either way, Rosita's going to tell them there's a lot of stuff getting ready to go down, and one is going to find this little girl. So Scott Kernan says it looks as if Henry sees shadows in the tent. Scott, I can be perfectly honest with you. I haven't broken down that scene. I've watched it, but I haven't broken it down to really pick it apart. So I'm not really prepared to answer on that. Got Charles Thompson says in the promo, there's a scene where Daryl grabs his arrow to take out a walker. As he swings it, it looks like it grabs the arrow. Well, it would not surprise me if a couple things. One, I don't think the full allotment of Whispers is on display. I think you're going to get some groups, some small little running groups. You know, there's a group after Rosita. They might have split up a little bit. There could be another group sort of stalking out Daryl or that's been following Carol. I'm going to hope that none of the saviors are half burnt and have been following Carol back. We didn't officially see all of them die. We can assume they're gone. And you're right. And there is another group milling around. So we're going to be introduced to them, but they're all over the place. So why do you think that we're seeing them split up so much? I'm going to throw this question out to the group. I know why I think. Divide and conquer. I agree. Dark Stark, I see a plot emerging as well. Recon. I think it's a little bit more simple. I think there's two ways to look at it. One, I think there's the actual storyline, and then there's the storyline, how it plays to us, the viewers. And I think the reason they're hitting so many different groups at the same time is just to show us how massive they are. Is to show us that it's not just one unorganized group. It's an army. Trying to find Lydia, I wouldn't disagree with either. So I think that for impact for us, the viewers, and also they have an agenda, and that agenda could be, where's Lydia? So not just because I predicted it, but I want to see what your thoughts are. I'm pretty sure that Lydia is going to turn up. Which group finds Lydia? Daryl's group or Michonne's group? And there's a couple reasons why I think this. I think Daryl's group finds Lydia, and if you remember, Eugene and Rosita left from Alexandria. So Michonne is pretty much taking the same path that Eugene and Rosita took. And I just got a feeling Rosita is she's going to make it to them. She's going to kind of be on that roadway and that crossing, and Michonne's going to, when Connie hears something, I think it's going to be Rosita being chased. Because it would also, it would give Henry the chance to sort of fall for Lydia, right? Like, hey, there's somebody around my age. We just got coincidence all over the place. So we got no action for 6 years, or some action, and then just out of the blue, we got craziness all happening at the same time. Another big herd, the Whispers are there, Magnus Group shows up, the same day, or very next day, Magnus Group shows up, the Whispers show up, and we just happen to be taking Henry up to Hilltop. It's fine. It's fine. Look, I'm not here. I'm good with plot holes. I'm good with coincidence. Because I just think it has to happen fast. The alternative, if we don't get this, we got to sit through 3 episodes of grieving. And once again, we are going to start out this episode with finding out what's wrong with Daryl, trying to get Daryl right. Scott Kernan says we could expect a gruesome Eugene death in 9/8. Well, I mean, I'm not saying no. Because he is hurt. He is falling behind. He's likely captured. But I'm going to say no. And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to say no. I'm going to ask the comic book fans. In the comic book, who was traded for Lydia? Give a little quiz to the comic fans out there. Chris Riddle, thank you so much for that super chat. Appreciate that. My man, appreciate your support for the channel. There was a deal. Hold on. Slow down before we get to the decapitations and the brutality of the group. It's not Carl. Ken and Dante sounds right to me. That sounds right. Ken definitely sounds right. I'm going to go with Ken and Dante. So I'm going to say Eugene does get captured and Lydia gets taken. And Eugene will be traded for Lydia. Is that fair enough? You guys down with that? Or do you think that it doesn't have to be two people? Decent storyline. Are we good with that? Scott thinks going to be a brutal Eugene death. I think it's too early. I think in 9-8 that we're going to see Alpha. We'll see the trade. We'll be left kind of fearing them. Maybe we'll see. You know what? I got a bold prediction. I got something that'll blow you guys away. Well, hopefully. Scott Kernan says, synopsis 9-8, that it started off as simple rescue mission, but then it got worse very quickly. Things could have escalated. Maybe the Jesus fight. Jimmy's jamming. Bold prediction, Eugene survives. The Whisperers. So, one of the, I guess, kind of early predictions that we talked about maybe 3 months ago, and we got to get back into the context of it, is I said that the Whisperers will negotiate, but I think they've already killed. People are missing. So, for example, maybe Tara. Tara's somebody that comes to mind. Or if Tara is over the hilltop, whoever is not leading the hilltop, I think is dead. Hold tight for a second. So, we don't know who that is yet. So, if Tara is leading the hilltop, I think Enid is dead. And I'm going to tell you where I think she is. And vice versa. So, if Eugene is captured, I will in a second. Give me a second, guys. We got people trying to get to someone's theory, and I'll get back to it in a second. All right, Rosita and Jean separate, goes back to Alexandria. She leads the herd away and gets busted. Angela, it's possible. Certainly, Rosita and Eugene getting separated. That I don't disagree with. But I'm not saying it's impossible. All I'm saying is it doesn't kind of coordinate with the direction I'm going right now. And hold tight 1 second, Scott. Scott says, can't be Enid. She's now in the opening credits. Okay, but we haven't seen Tara. So, bear with me as I sort of talk through this, because this ties into something that we discussed a few months back. So I want to layer on top of it. So certainly, Daryl, Carol, Henry, and then we got a tied up dog, and then more than likely they're going to run into Lydia. We've already kind of got Eugene and Tara, Eugene and Rosita, they're in a bad situation. Eugene is hobbling behind. Rosita can't save him. She's probably going to see him get captured. She's going to assume he's dead. Now there's leverage. If the Whisperers were to figure it out and figure out that, look, this is the same group of people, where did they go? Where could they possibly be? Then it sets the stage. We do know, I'm going to give you spoiler information, and this is why I think this works out. Or not confirmed spoiler information. In episode 8, it is rumored that the Whisperers will show up at Hilltop and Daryl will be there. And there's a negotiation going on. Apparently there's a baby crying. There's just something that distracts them, that escalates things. And that's where we're probably officially going to see interaction between the Whisperers and between Hilltop, which does not stray too far from the comic arc. Because in the comic, there's a trade, and then Carl falls for Lydia, and then Carl follows back to the Whisperers' hideout. All right. Scott Kernan said Enid is in the new opening credits. I will. Then maybe Enid's got some staying power. But I assume Elena Masterson's is she not in the opening credits as well? But we haven't seen either one of them yet. Brandy Post says, do you think when Magnus Group said something about the sickos, they were talking about the Whisperers? They could have some knowledge of the Whisperers. I mean, it is convenient that they both showed up around the same time. So certainly the Whisperers could be following them, and maybe they're trying to get away from them. All right, hang on. Don't get so caught up on Enid and Tara right now. I'm using that as an example. So if the Whisperers have Eugene, or they have anybody, but right now it most likely looks like Eugene. And they make the trade. As a viewer, we know how deadly the Whisperers can be. There's always going to be a major event or a dramatic happening in episode 8. We've only got 2 more episodes to get to episode 8, so we're close. And from what we've heard, there is going to be a introduction or a standoff. So it's either going to be a major death, or it's going to be, well, let's make the viewers who don't know the Whisperer story arc assume, all right, this is a group that can be negotiated with, and then all is well, they take Lydia back. But what I'm going to say is one of 2 things happen. Either a violent death happens, or we have the Whisperers going back to their stronghold, and as they walk by the fenced areas, we recognize they've already killed someone. So I would like to see it play out that way, because then it shows that they've been violent all along, that they haven't been pushed, that it's not territorial, that it's not, they've already put up the warning signs. And then we just kind of know not to trust them because there are heads on pikes. But if we see a death right away, and if we see a head on a pike, I think it takes the shock value and it takes the trickery away from the whole barter scene that is more than likely going to go down at Hilltop. Not everything that we talk about is just going to be, we're going to be there. We gotta get some of the story, like, right? I mean, we got to see Daryl with his dog. We got to have a campfire chat. We got to have him, talk about how he's been out in the woods and he hates everybody. 5 minutes of that. We at least got to go through the motions. And Walking Dead nerd, I wouldn't disagree with that either. What if we see one of the missing survivors' skin on one of them, and that's the death we see? And what if we kind of go through this, and we're saying, who haven't we seen? Well, obviously, Tara and Enid would be people that would jump out. But what if it's Cindy? What if it's some Oceanside? And what if it's Beatrice? What if it's Cindy and Beatrice? Would that make a little bit more sense? Hey, Eugene gets captured, Lydia gets taken to Hilltop, and then that all happens this week. And in episode 8, the mid-season finale, we get a standoff where they go up to do the trade, and then they go back. Henry follows them back, and when we follow them back, we see that they've already been killing people. Yeah, but the thing is, I'm not asking if you expect to see somebody dead that you're going to be heartbroken over. I'm talking more along the lines of somebody we would recognize. Like if you take some character that hasn't gotten any airtime and you realize they're decapitated, it's going to be like, okay. But if you see Cindy and Beatrice head on a pike, there may not be the love for those characters, but there's an association and a recognition of those characters. So that would, I think, kind of set the mystique for a couple of months. If it was Tara, then I think not only would it set the tone, it would also be a little bit of shock value as well. Like, wow, man, I can't believe we lost Tara. It wouldn't be heartbreaking for most, but it would be, it would have some impact, would have some effect. Scott Kernan says, I predict Oceanside left with Maggie. Maybe. But we'll have to get Maggie's backstory. And also the follow-up says, we know for a fact Pike's scene is in 9:15 and 9:16. Well, we could have some Pike scenes, some decapitations. We could have some, kind of pan out as Henry follows them. We could have Henry captured again. Well, I guess he wasn't captured, but he got himself in trouble when he went out there. But I mean, we're also going to have some Henry and Lydia bonding. I don't know that that's going to happen in half an episode. That's the only part that's a little bit kind of gray area for me. Is if these two hit it off and Henry's compelled to follow them back. But here's something. Actually, you know what? I think this is the way it's going to go down. We got Pete D with a super chat showing a little love for the 999 Army. Thank you so much, Pete D. Good to see you, my man. I know the way it's going to go down. Like, Henry doesn't necessarily have to fall for Lydia. If Lydia is forced to leave against her will, and he feels like she wants to stay. Remember how Henry told Carol, like, you need to stand up for what's right? That could be the spark. If it's somebody Henry just met, and then it's like, hey, where's our daughter? Yep, all right, we got this. Peace out. We'll see you. But if he looks at Lydia and she looks like nervous, or if she confides in him that she was abused or something happened, she really didn't want to go, then Henry may not fight at that moment, but he's going to want to go rescue her. And Valerie says, what about Negan, who lets him out? It's a good question, if he's even let out. He may not be let out next episode. It may be something that we have to wait and see in 9 after the break, once the war starts to escalate. And keep in mind, there has to be an instigator. Now, the instigator could be that Eugene is captured. The Whisperers may think that Lydia was captured. That could all be a front. But where is the threat? There's not going to be a whisper of war until there's a direct threat. And either that threat could be an invasion, or it could be what I think's already happened. I think that there's some people already dead. I think they've already been killing. Scott says, how does Judith fit into the Whisperer story? Well, Judith wants to defend people, and Judith wants to fight. I hope Judith is not taken by those sickos. And Scott, I mean, and appreciate that. Spoiler from the comic. Negan kills Alpha doesn't mean it's going to play out that way. And he also holds up Alpha's head and says, wait till Rick sees this. So Negan going to say, wait till Michonne sees this? I mean, I don't know it's going to play out exactly that way. It could. But, I mean, it could be somebody else. I'm just not, without more data, not going to go out on a limb and say it's going to follow the comic arc. And I think we get burned too much by that. And another good point, Robin. Judith's not in the comics. And Carl is. I mean, so, look, they could give this arc to different people, or they could just change it up. And I think they're going to do both. I think you're going to get bits and pieces given to Henry, bits and pieces given to Judith, and then, you know, how the Rick, Michonne, Negan dynamic. Well, I think, Julie, I think what they meant was Judith is not still in the comics at this point. But there's many people that aren't. So we just have to be careful by referencing, you know, let's use the analogy we talked about last night. It's a road map, not a treasure map. I mean, there's a lot of change. And I think they're going to give us the villains, they're going to give us the basics, but we're not going to follow it to the letter. Scott Kernan says, it's an iconic scene from the comics, though. It is. But, you know, it's also going to depend on how long this thing's... Here's a question I have for the group. It's probably a loaded question because we watch anyway, and we have spoilers. But if everything plays out exactly the way the comics does, I think it lessens the fans' interest. I do think there's some people that, you know, they want to see the artwork play out. But there's also people, even though you hear the spoilers, you just want to see the way the characters do it, and you want to see if the spoilers were correct. And we got, who we got super chatting? This is Brandy Post. Brandy says, I don't think it's going to matter if the person that the Whisperers take out is a Maine or just someone like the Oceanside people. I think it'll be a oh my God moment no matter who it is. I agree. The big rumors that are out there, and that's why I think the timeline is important, because I don't know if it's just going to be an epic death and then Jesus dies. I think it's going to be staged. So for those of you joining late, I think there's going to be barter, and then there's going to be proven earlier violence that you didn't know at the time of the barter, And then I think because of that, people are going to see it and they're going to react to it. Then I think there's going to be a fight or an invasion to where they go to free Henry. So Henry goes missing. And then the word gets out like, well, where did he go? Well, he must have went after that girl. So he goes after that girl. And then you see the Pikes, and then you know that there's imminent danger. Like, what? Wait, these people don't just have Henry. They've been killing our own for a while. They're sick. And then they go in with an agenda, and I think that's where you kind of get that breath of heroism where, Jesus is going to go in and take care of business, and then you realize he's not. And then maybe Jesus fights Beta, chop, and then everybody realizes like, well, that did not work. Just some kind of visual of how I think it can play out. And there's some pieces that are still in the works. And J.C. Newman, what if Dwight returns to see his wife's head on a pike? I think Dwight's out there. That could have already happened. Because keep in mind, I don't know that Sherry's head would have stayed on a pike for 6 years. So I kind of feel like Dwight is a version of Daryl, where they've just kind of been living out there on their own. And that's a good point too, Eddie. Not just about how many whispers. They're completely surrounded by walkers they control. So thousands of walkers. They create these massive herds and they know how to navigate in and out of them. Pamela, I don't think that's beyond the scope if the Whispers were to take Judith. And that's why Negan gets out. I mean, Negan still has to be given a chance. There's going to be a reason why Negan is given a chance. And Judith missing would definitely light a fire. And I'm going to tell you, that would make Negan a definite certified star of the show. Is there anything bigger at this point? Oh, and this is set up brilliantly. Everyone fell in love with Judith. Judith has a connection to Negan. So by default, if something happened to Judith and Negan was the savior, pun fully intended, then he gets 4-star general status right there. The crowd will love him and immediately will wash every bad memory of Glenn, Abraham, Spencer, anyone else out of the equation. The writers could set that up brilliantly and just completely manipulate every one of us. And we're already going down that path, right? And not everybody understands the connection between the two of them. Like, you can see it on his face. I mean, they have, like, father-daughter conversations. Remember, the last time we saw Negan, the dude was going crazy. He wanted to die. He was beating his head against the wall. What is it, of all the things during the day, what is the number one thing that Negan looks forward to every day? Right, one conscious? He adores Judith. And the way he articulated, the way he enunciated everything, his dialogue, he could not even, get out complete sentences 6 years ago when Maggie was there. He just wanted to die. And now he's back to being clever, protective Negan, but he's protective of Judith. And he sort of toughened her up a little bit. So, no doubt about it, if that plays out, Negan will get, can I say Rick Grimes status? Or is it too soon? This is going to be, I'm going to be crucified for that. You know, I just said it to see the reaction. It'll be moving. All right, too soon. Fair enough, Bumblebee. He would get respect. Scott Kernan with Super Chat says Negan could kill Alpha for Judith. I don't know, Denise. I'm not going to say never at this point. I'm telling you, I've been anti-Negan for a long time, and little by little, we've talked about the things that needed to happen in order to gradually get back to making Negan the hero of the show. And it was killing Simon, and it was the emotion he had for Carl. It was the reform in the jail. It's the conversations with Judith. It's time. And the only thing he really needs at this point is a big win. And is there a bigger win right now than if he saves Judith? I can't think of anything. Got another super chat. So we got Jimmy's Jammin'. Let's not forget how Negan sat on Rick's front porch holding baby Judith. Well, he's always had that weakness for kids. Because he couldn't have any of his own. And I love the way, I was going to say the seeds were planted, but if you say someone can't have kids of their own coming back with seeds, yeah, that's probably not a good analogy. But I love the way the writers planted the seed. Here I did it again. Because Sherry couldn't get pregnant with Negan, so they didn't. Anyway, you know where I'm going with this. I love the way the writers showed us that Negan was trying to have a child with Sherry, and he couldn't. And he had to give that attention to Judith and Carl. So, a couple seasons ago, we already saw that weakness in Negan. So the way it's played out 2 years later, I think is phenomenal. We got Kay Hensley. Negan saves Judith. Judith gets captured. Yeah, I mean, we don't have confirmation of that yet. But I do want us to, let's put down the gauntlet, say it here first. Because if it does play out that way, it makes perfect sense. It's a good story. And to me, it brings closure. I just said it. I will say it again. Got another super chat. 1189 Paris. Negan needed to be broken down for us to like him. So, I'm gonna ask the group a question in 1 second, because Brandy Post with a super chat says, how long do you think the Whisperers have been this way? Were they a regular group before, and maybe the group has seen them before? Just curious. Brandy, some of their members could have been merged in, and maybe we will. I think that would be a nice Easter egg or a nice hidden clue. If we see them hanging out and talking about their strategy, and we're like, hey, I recognize that person. So, sure, I think that's a possibility. And I don't think there's an exact timeline on the Whisperers. We've given our own predictions here. But I don't know if they've been around the whole six years. They've just probably been migrating from another area, walking along, doing... I mean, the thing about them is they could be from everywhere. We don't have to assume they're just from a local group or they're from the Saviors. They could be from a group from West Virginia or Maryland or Pennsylvania, and they just happen to walk down. I mean, think 3 or 4 years of just kind of building and figuring out a way to survive. I don't know that story's ever really been told. That's right, Sheila Mack. Sheila Mack is brings something to my attention. So as we do just a quick live commercial interruption, if you guys could do me a favor, everybody here, 999 Army, I love doing these early previews, predictions, some really good thoughts, some great comments that we're getting to, some great super chats tonight, good theories. If you guys are having a good time with what we do, this is a Tuesday night, a little bit early with the predictions. Slap that like button. Whisper the like button. Whatever. We need a new analogy. We used to Lucille the like button. Whatever we need to do. If you're having a good time, hit it. If you're not having a good time and you hate what we do, then dislike it. Either way, we just want some data. We just want to get some information out there from you guys. So hopefully we get a lot more likes than dislikes. That's always the plan. Sorry, everybody. We had a brief interruption there. Just a couple seconds. We're back up. We're back up. Don't leave. Hang out. We got a little bit more to talk about. So just F5 it. You guys can. I don't know if that was it might have been a YouTube interruption. Paris, the hunters used to help people before they started to eat them. The Whisperers could have been like the group, the wolves. Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll see one of the wolves that got kind of merged into it. Yeah, it's like, where did he go? Where did he go? No, we're here. But as we said, we got about 400 people here, so we'd love to have, we've had about 800 people from the time we started this kind of in and out. We'd love to have 300 or 400 likes. That would be awesome. That would show that love and support for everybody in here, their chats, their communication, and also the moderators. We got Jimmy's Jammin' says, I think Daryl, Michonne, and Negan would make an awesome killing machine. Hey, I don't disagree with that, Jimmy, but I think you're missing a couple people there. Let's put Magna into the group. Jesus may not make it, and I think Aaron is going to be around for a while. I think Aaron's going to we see him as kind of even-tempered Aaron, but I think he might have a little bit of a beast mode. We're hoping for it. Oh, and Carol. How can I forget Carol? Well, there's going to be some death. And I would like to see Carol get to a point of no return. And I think if something happens to Ezekiel, Carol's good forever. We'll never have to worry about her. Do I kill? Do I not kill? I'd hate to see her lose her big opportunity because I think she's happy for a change and she deserves it. But I'm not sure if that story's going to play out long term. One conscious says, could Judith be the one to go after Lydia? I don't see it. And I'll tell you why, one conscious, because it doesn't seem to be able to happen fast enough. It appears that it makes more sense for Judith and Negan to both be in Alexandria, for Michonne to be on the road. Because, look, there's going to be a group at Hilltop, there's going to be a group at Alexandria. And what we know right now is someone is watching Judith and RJ, and Michonne is leading Magna's group up to Hilltop, and Daryl will probably end up with Carol and Henry and make their way to Hilltop as well, especially if there's some danger. And there looks like there is with the dog and the walkers and possibly... I think Lydia is there. And what if Lydia's the one that tied up the dog? I mean, I don't know why that would happen. I'm just saying, there's some walkers there, and the dog is not dying. Maybe she didn't know it belonged to somebody. I don't know. I'm not saying, it's malicious, but I'm just trying to sort of think through it. Yeah, I do want to see how it plays out relatively quickly because too much grunting and no dialogue. I really need to see more out of Daryl. I've always been a fan of Daryl as a supporting role, but at some point, I'm okay with him talking a little bit more. Lou Memorabilia says, hey, Negan has to become the lead on the show. Without Rick, it needs a lead actor to draw. I don't disagree. So I'm going to walk through it just one more time and play it out because some people arrived late. What the writers have done to us since the evil, brutal, disgusting bashing of Glenn's head. And I got to say it like that so it's visual to you because I want you to be mad about it. But then Negan wanted to cut a deal and let Rick live. Now, you're probably saying, well, that's not a deal. But he did want to keep him alive. And then he went by and he made spaghetti for Rick's kids. And then a little bit later on, he choked Simon to death when he found out what Simon did to Jadis' people. That he didn't want to keep killing. And then we saw the anguish on Negan's face when he found out Carl died. And then when him and Rick had the standoff, he wasn't going to kill Rick, and Rick cut his throat. And then he got locked up. So he was even keel at that point. And then he went crazy and wanted to die. And then he had to see everybody could survive without him. Had nothing to live for. The last thing that's missing to be the hero is if Negan, you already see the relationship he has with Judith. If Negan saves Judith, how many people, and look, and I even forgot, Maggie even had a chance to kill him, and Maggie chose to let him live. So how many of you are ready to bring closure to the Negan story and stop hating Negan for what happened 7.5 years ago? How many people are ready to see him start to help the group from the Whispers? Just, I think you're going to see the numbers shift so much from the hatred that we had a year ago. The writers have done everything they possibly can. It's time to free Negan. I mean, there's two more things that can still go down. One, the Whispers are going to be like nothing you've ever seen. And number two, we already see Negan's reformed. Laura Nicole says, you might have already talked about it, but could we see Carl and Lydia's story be gender swapped? We could. But I think it's more likely that it won't be. I think it's going to be Lydia, and I think it's going to be Henry. I mean, I get it. I know some people are going to just have that animosity with Negan just to have it. But at this point, if the Whisperers are decapitating people and Negan starts helping to kill them and protecting people like Michonne, look, and you're going to say, well, Michonne doesn't. I'm just saying, if he's laying his life on the line for a Michonne or for Daryl or for Aaron or for some of these other people, if he's willing to go to battle and die for these people now, if he goes out there and he can save Judith, I don't know what else the writers can do except send him down from heaven on a white horse with a machine gun and I don't know what else we need to see in order to see that his character is different. And I think in this type of society, look, the lifespan is much less. Negan got more prison time than anybody in the history of The Walking Dead. Let me say this. Negan has been in prison 3 times longer than anything that happened before he went into prison. Well, let me agree and disagree. Okay, is anyone going to kill Negan at this point for what happened to Glenn and Abraham? Serious question. Maggie's already let him live. Is anyone going to execute him? The answer is no. No, I mean the answer is no. Nobody's going to kill him. If anyone were going to kill him, it would be Maggie. Okay? That's question number 1. Question number 2. Why did Rick put Negan in jail to begin with? So, you're not going to kill him. But why was he imprisoned? This is all going to make sense in a couple minutes. You can see exactly where I'm going. It wasn't. It wasn't to break him. It wasn't to make him suffer. No, it wasn't. It wasn't a punishment worse than death. That was just extra. That was extra satisfaction. It was to show everyone what the future was going to be like and to use him as an example. So there's only one logical question I have for everybody here. Why leave him in jail at this point? That storyline's played out. Nobody's going to kill him. And by the way, we got Whispers 100 yards away. No, you can't babysit him anymore, Steph. You can't. There is no value to imprisoning him, is what I'm saying. You let him out. Who's going to watch over him? Are you going to put a guard to stand there by him while 100 Whisperers storm into Alexandria? There's no logic behind it any longer. There is no jail. There is no law. There is no charter. There are no rules. It's survival. And it's survival, you let him out because you need him, because he is less dangerous than the people that are coming to kill you. Luckily, he's been broken. But if he hadn't been broken, you still probably need to let him out. So the benefit to the group is that he's reformed. We've seen that. We've seen it through what he said. We've seen it through Maggie's actions. And we've seen it through his interaction with Judith. So at this point, I can't have a prison guard standing there leaving him locked up. And if he can fight and help us and take out a few of them, more power to him. We'll figure out the other stuff later. He's going to be pardoned. You got to use him for your advantage. And I think as viewers, we've been set up perfectly. Now, if you would have asked me this question a year ago, I gave you a totally different answer. If you asked me this question 10 months ago, I gave you a different answer. Well, Steph, and that's where it plays out differently. Because ultimately, if you did that, and you know the way the comic plays out, then the Whisperers would win the war. But if Negan really is the hero that he plays out in the comics, Negan is the reason why the leader's dead and probably protects a whole lot of other people. So there's a way that we would do it. There's a way we probably should do it. And then there's a way that we know it's probably been done. And a certain portion of that might play out. It might not. And that's why, at this point, I say he's done. Now, there is a caveat to that. Scott Kernan says, are we absolutely certain that he is very deceitful? At this moment in time, I'm pretty certain that he's not trying to rebuild. He's not trying to cut a deal with someone else. He's not... Look. Who's he going to lead? His people all got burnt up. There's nobody for him to lead. He has nothing. Even if he did try to be deceitful, how far is it going to get him? What is it going to be Negan against 100 people in Alexandria? The logic there just is not happening. Steph, that's the caveat, and I'm going to hit on that in 1 second. Albert Arthur says they need to let Negan out of jail because they need him with the Whisperer War. Absolutely. Now, look. Can he go back to his old ways? Would that be a good storyline? Sure. Not right now. At this moment in time, and as characters and as fans, we live in the moment. And he appears to be reformed. He's done everything that he's said everything. If he goes out and fights side by side and he doesn't stab somebody in the back and he kills a few Whisperers, then I think we're good to go. Now, could there be a Negan uprising? Could he cut a deal with Commonwealth, or could he join another group, or could he try to rebuild? Maybe. That's a big maybe 3 seasons down the road or 4 seasons down the road. And we may get played ultimately, but I think we have to be played because that's where we are. And at this moment, if you ask me, if the Whisperers are right outside the gate, and what I've seen from this guy in the last 6 years and what he's told me and what he's demonstrated, would I let him out to help me fight? I'm saying yes. And we're going to wind down the stream, and I'm going to ask everybody in this chat the very same question. If you are a member of Alexandria and you're part of that council, and you're about to be overrun by the biggest, most violent group of decapitators you've ever seen in your life, do you fight side by side with Negan? Let me see your thoughts. Let me see who's going to open that door and say, here, we need you. Because he has a choice to help or not. He doesn't have to lay his life on the line for you. He could say, no, leave it closed. You've done well without me. I love, some people are like, swing away. I've seen the dude in action. I think he's a legitimate fighter. All right. I think we went full circle. And I think we're ready to move on. And Negan, Dwight, Daryl, Michonne, they might all be part of a group working together. You know, if Michonne can go down there and talk to him and look him in the eye and make sure he eats and make sure that happens for 6 years, I'm sure she's ready to let him put his life on the line and help fight. All right, everybody, we're going to wind this thing down. Look, you can never recruit 100% of the people 100% of the time. But I'm going to tell you, it's amazing to watch the transition between I'll be the first person in line to say 2 years ago, 95% of our audience, based on what we knew and what we saw at that moment, there's no way they would have ever given Negan any type of other chance. And then, about 6 months ago it was 50-50, and now we're probably 90 to 95% are really looking forward to it. And I do think that from an acting standpoint, his charisma and his story is going to be a real benefit, because we're going to get there are a lot of Negan fans out there even when he was the villain. But now that not so much, I think there'll be a bigger appreciation when he kills a Whisperer, any type of comic relief that he brings to the show. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate everybody being here. You guys are absolutely amazing. This is our very early previews. We'll have some additional theories. We're going to add on to this tomorrow night. If the spoilers come out a little bit earlier, we'll do that. Also, we are going to pick a real quick announcement. So you guys know about the image we used last night. We posted the caption on our 999 Army Walking Dead fan page. So we've gotten a couple hundred comments. Thank you so much. Some really, really good. We're going to pick 3 and post 3 by tomorrow morning. And then those of you, there's only going to be one winner. So out of the hundreds of comments we got, don't be disappointed if yours is not one of the 3. There's some really good ones out there. But I'm going to put each one of those 3 as a vote. And I'm going to ask you whether they're one of your 3 or whether you didn't, get in the semifinals. Pick one, because we want a clear-cut winner. I saw one that just blew me away, so I know which one I would pick. It was hilarious. But I want you to pick one of the 3, and then on Thursday night, we will announce the winner. So from tomorrow morning until Thursday night, up until the time that we do the stream, you have the chance to vote for one. And then if you guys didn't see, it's a nice Grimes giveaway. Steph put together a really nice package of Walking Dead items, so there's only going to be one winner. And stay tuned. By tomorrow morning, there will be a survey up. It'll be a poll. There will only be 3 choices. So don't add any write-ins, because it's just going to be those 3. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate everybody being here. We are going to do more giveaways. We are going to have more contests, so this is just the tip of the iceberg. I want to start out by saying thank you to all the Patreons in the top left-hand corner. Amazing job. They support this channel through a third-party website called Patreon. There's a link down below if you guys are interested. We're really close to hitting our 3rd tier goal, which is going to open up the door for more contests that I'll talk about a little bit more over the next couple months during our downtime to The Walking Dead. Also in the top right corner, and their names are all in green, you see The Walking Dead Nerd, you see Jimmy's Jammin', Villar, Michelle, a ton of wonderful people that are sponsors for this channel. Also, the moderators, Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kells, do an awesome job. And we had a ton of super chatters again tonight. You guys see Scott Kernan in full effect. Let me read a few of the super chatters who are here tonight. We've got Villar getting it kick-started tonight. We got Scott Kernan. We got Drama King, Charles Thompson, Chris Riddle, Jimmy's Jammin', Brandy Post, thank you tonight, Pete D, Kay Hensley, 1189 Paris, One Conscious, Laura Nicole, and Albert Arthur, and many people did multiple super chats tonight. Some awesome conversations, some awesome dialogue. I know we couldn't get to everybody, but you guys are absolutely incredible. So to a lot of people that couldn't get, remember, your comments are a part of this video. People are going to watch the playback. Thousands of people watch this. They comment. Get over there and read their comments, because they're seeing it like it's real time. And also, I see a lot of interaction between each of you, so appreciate you guys just kind of keeping it fresh, keeping it going. So let's get this thing going. Everybody give me a quick 999 so I can do a few shout-outs. I want to start out with Vengeance91. What's up, Vengeance? Good to see you. Cammie, Samantha Coombs, Angela McMillan, thank you so much. Walking Dead Nerd, Frankie Taylor, Tammy Sifford, OSU Buckeye, Mitch True, Kimberly G, Gina Crockett, Laura Butler, Star Guitar Goddess, Shane Yutzy, Cheryl Lee, Chris Rainick, DDA Ohio, Eric C., Newfield 12, Ziglet, Home Flaherty, Coma Drug, Sheila Mack, thank you so much, Casino Well, Tammy Hill, Jim Dow, thank you, Julia Muse, Brandon Burns, Michael Curie, have a good night, Anna Smith, Dark Stark, thank you, Lakeisha Faison, just got here, watch the playback, Lakeisha, don't skip the ads. Tommy V, thank you. James Decker, appreciate you being here. Delmarva, 1971. Tracy Frederick, thank you. Oh, sorry, Pickles. Phyllis, Tracy Dees, thank you. Billy Ray. Edwin Gonzalez, Brandy Post, thank you, everybody. Expert Hunter, appreciate that. Leanne White. Tracy Grubb. Ton of new people. I'm seeing a lot of new faces. Those new people, hit that like button and subscribe. We want you to come back. This is not a one-time deal. We don't pop up a video and hope to get millions of views. We've been doing this for a while. It's a veteran group. We like to have a good time. We do this almost every night. So we want your repeat business. We want you to come back. We want your thoughts. We want your ideas. We want your predictions, your theories. And if they're wrong, we want to talk about 6 months later the theories that we were right about and the theories that we were wrong about. So you don't have to be here and worry about throwing something out there that's going to be disproven. It's the joy of figuring it out. That's kind of what we do here. Thanks, Fluff. Appreciate you being here as well. Jay Smalls. Appreciate that. Crystal, the singer chick Gore. 1189 Paris. It's all good. You know what? We can get 5, 10, 15 dislikes. It's just a survey. It's just a pulse. If people take the time to come here to dislike a video, at least they're taking the time to give us some feedback. But we get a ton more people that like what we do than dislike what we do. And that's important. Kim Ames, thanks for being here. Arthurine James, appreciate that. Home Flaherty, it's not. You got to F5 it. Yeah, definitely Casino Well. Certainly our hearts go out to all the victims and the people that have been displaced and just all the forest fires. This is just absolutely tragic. And I know a lot of our viewers are from the West Coast. So hopefully you and your families are all safe. And on that note, I am going to end it on a super serious note. So thank you, and we will see everybody here tomorrow night at 9:30. So keep in mind, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9:30 every night. Saturday mornings at 12. We do Saturday mornings at noon. Hold on, I'm so confused now. See, my mind's completely... Saturday mornings we do at 11. I'll get back to everybody. Saturdays at 11, Sundays at noon. We'll figure it out. I'll go back through the history because I think I flip-flopped one week to the next. Just know we do a Saturday morning stream, a Sunday morning stream, then we do an 8 o'clock countdown and also 10:15. So stay tuned, and I'll get a consistent time for everybody. All right, I think on that note, we're an hour and 46 minutes, or an hour and 16 minutes. And we will get... Tommy, the rename's going to happen after Thursday. And I'm glad you reminded me. Oh, man, I almost forgot that. So, one more thing. Happy birthday to the Walking Dead nerd. everybody's still here. Really quickly, give a birthday shout out to my inside scoop is Walking Dead nerd. I get some good Comic-Con information. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow night at 9:30. Have a good night. Peace.